thank you for joining us today. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and what has brought you on this journey.
Oh yes, it is quite a journey. What brought me on this journey? You can actually pinpoint when you go through your life. It depends on how old you are, of course. But sometimes you think it's only what's happening right now. That's the thing that's building the situation. Like sitting on a comma. How did I get off sitting on this comma? But I would say that what is happening for me over the last 10 years in my life has been building up all through my life. So one thing I would mention, two things that sort of caused this where I am right now. And one thing is that I, maybe not very deliberately, started following my heart when I was in my late teens. My parents had got divorced, and I thought there's something, in your teens you want to find the one in your life and all that. But there was like a stronger urge for really, love. At that time, I thought it was connected to another person, a relationship in that sense. But being where I am right now, I can see that it's not just that. And not ditching your partner in any way, but it's very much down to finding what is meaningful for me. Okay, yes, in relationship to your partner, a partner, if you want to go that way, but also to finding a meaningful, but also a life where you use your energy in a positive way. And I have been talking about that with my friends over the years, because they keep quoting me on, Gitte, you always say it could be in any kind of relationship. Is this making you energy flow in a good way? Or are you in a relationship? It could also be with a friend or some. So I've been prioritizing trying to use my energy in that way, but I didn't know it was about that sort of. Another comma that I got off was that I was made redundant at one point in my corporate life. And actually the first time, because it happened twice, the first time it was in 2014, and it was to do with AI.
Oh, wow.
So and I had to sort of both sack half of my team, and also I was one of them myself. So that was really the introduction to AI. I was leading a team where we were using AI for scanning. It was in an insurance company, so it was in the so-called early days. But it was a reminder now for people that AI has been around a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe we just called it IT or something. We got a new model, and now we don't need physical people anymore. We can go and have a process through the computer, and that's it. So that pause or that break gave me some time to just be me, because I had time for a couple of months, and that started really a journey that took where I am right now, because it released some kind of both energy and me having time to reflect, going back to what is it really that that's bothering me, what is it that I could do differently, both personally but also in my corporate so-called or professional life. So I think those are the two that I will mention right now.
Yeah. And your parents' divorce, it's this, you mentioned to us earlier when we spoke last time that it became a one conversation with yourself moment, you know, like where you had to, a moment where you had to follow your heart. And how did that early breakthrough, you know, influence your decisions in your personal life and your career?
I think I've been very good at it throughout my personal life. So really, I can see that, you know, when I look back, I don't think I was that aware of it at that time, but things like where you're going to make a decision, and I knew deep down what the decision was very quickly. So it's like navigating in that sort of, both you have a situation and you have some so-called rational knowledge about it, you know, what would be good, but there's also some intuitive knowledge deep down. Should I pick this one? It could be a frame for a picture or something, or it could be something else. But I've always been very quick in calibrating that sort of input and made my decisions. It has been a little bit more difficult for me in corporate life, maybe because I was too much in my head, too much in my ego.
Yeah.
You know, too much in what is it that I should be or do, because that is the thing to do or the right thing to do, or so juggling that in corporate life, also corporate life being that in certain environments and in certain cultures, it is like you are put in a, sounds a little bit bad, in a cage. You know, you have some rules, and you have, you should put your, in Denmark we call it your yes cap. You know, you should be positive, you have this attitude. And it's not because I'm not a provocative or but there is, otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here right now. There's kind of rebel. I do not just accept things as they are. I also want to question them, but it doesn't mean that I am, you know, doing it in a, you know, unpolite way or anything. But I would like us to have, like we're having now, why is it, you know, one conversation, one breakthrough, so that also in a corporate environment, it shouldn't be that, you know, we have such a strict agenda, and you are not allowed, you're only allowed to say things about that, and you cannot come with some kind of feedback or have another, you know, opinion about something. It's okay, we have a dialogue and in a room, but when we walk out of the room, we of course are aligned in how, now I'm talking if you are a managing team, not necessarily the top one, but any managing team, you know, you should be loyal to the decisions that you have made. But in the room, you should be able to air whatever, you know, concerns you might have. Of course, always in a polite way. And I haven't found that sort of culture always. There's been, you know, times where it has been difficult.
Yeah, I think that's a common thread you're picking up. We've interviewed previous guests who have spoken about similar cultures, and I think in corporate structures and decision making, those decisions have economic impact and all those various on-flow effects. And as you've pointed out correctly, you sometimes people might feel like they're in a cage with all these constructs and rules and laws and regulations all around them, because they all have impact on the organization and the people within them. And yeah, quite rightfully so, people can quite often become very different in those environments. And some previous guests that we've interviewed work tirelessly to find meaningful ways of having those difficult conversations within those corporate structures, and trying to put some kind of a framework so that everyone in that organization can be heard. But you're 100% spot on. It's a work in progress, I think, across the world, and those situations and those structures always are quite difficult to navigate. But I just wanted to come back to those moments that have impacted you, and how have they gotten to where you are now? What about them made you want to write a book, for example?
I think because I had in 2014, and it's also started earlier, me using, both because I had got time, but also in my sort of my I have 3 boys, and they grew up, and you're not spending all your spare time with raising them, so you can suddenly use some time on yourself. So that's what I did. So I went into personal development because it was I felt good about it. I felt I needed it. There was like something pulling me from within. And it started with exercises and yoga and sort of just being good to yourself, self-care, you could say. And then it evolved into I participated in a program over a year where it was very much about it was called the feminine leadership. Not necessarily for women, but getting in contact with your feminine energy, or your more reflective, intuitive, that energy that I sort of was in contact with when in my teens, when I said I wanted to follow my heart. But it had been sort of shut down, or I've forgotten it a little bit. And for women also, especially because we have this history we have, it is also finding back to who you truly are as a woman, because there's so much that we're putting down the pressure cooker as women also. So that program, the feminine leadership, really was a big wake-up call for me. And in that process, I was told, because we got a lot of guidance and all that, I was told it was a soul path reading, a Mayan soul path reading from Mayans in Guatemala. Yeah. And I was told that, maybe I should write a book, or there was something, and I thought, what is she talking about? I'm not a journalist, Anyway, it was in 2019, and in 2020, I decided I wanted to write this book, and I thought I had the framework for it, but I was still working, and so I did start all the research and started writing it, but it was in the evenings, and it was a little bit difficult. So in 2022, I thought, okay, now I'll go full scale. I will go solo, and so I stopped my corporate life there and started my own sort of own life.
Wow. So you did a soul path reading about the feminine leadership, and that's what inspired you or got you on the journey of writing your own book, which you've called Energetic Leadership.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's a soul path reading that's like literally taking you onto your right path for your soul. What you were
Yes.
destined to do.
Yes, it's you have astrologies, and you can do lots of kind of readings, and this one is based on the Mayan culture and tradition and their energy calendar and everything. So I'm saying it just happened to be that one, but I don't think it was meant to be.
I think it was meant to be. For sure, you've got a whole book. But could you explain a little bit about the energetic leadership? You talked about like the idea of the feminine and masculine independent of gender. So it's like embracing your divine feminine or divine masculine. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, it already in 2016, I was really struck by another book that was written by this woman that was doing this whole program, The Feminine Leadership. And she had named her book, The Future is Feminine. And that one, really struck my attention. And it was 2016. And I was working in the car industry, which is very masculine. It was the truck industry. It's really, really masculine. But it was also interesting just in that team and that environment to try and introduce certain parts of it. So the whole thing about what is energy, and how we have two different kinds of energy, and it has nothing to do with genders, but like we have our masculine energy. Some would call it blue energy, you could call it, or the productive energy, or so it's the one that where we are very active and we are performing our duties and we're doing things. It's our right side of the body and it's the left side of the brain. And the feminine is where we are more reflective, where we are. It can also be seen as a little bit as a chaotic energy because it's very intuitive. It is relating back to that. Also, we need, sun and moon. We also need to sleep. You need to just be a human.
Yeah.
So you cannot just put your foot on the speeder all the time. You have to use the clutch, so to speak. So that energy, understanding that it is actually there. I didn't think about it that way beforehand. I might have done it intuitively, but I got much more into it, and I got much more interested in it, and I got much more aware and conscious about it, and how big a tool it is, and how we are not raised with that awareness. We're not taught anything about it. We are not. We don't have a culture. We don't have customer journeys, customer deliveries. Our business models are not built around it. It is only, built around how are you pushing, your drive? How is it making impact? And how are your must-win battles? And it's all that way of wording things. And that it has nothing to do with just feminine energy is not just for women.
Correct.
It is for men. It is part of our way of being. And I see that when I do workshops. I have one example where it was a group and they were talking about, I used some trends in the book, and when one of them relating to this is from dominance to dualism. And it's reflecting, from being dominant in the masculine energy to have more dualism behavior awareness with the two energies. And in that particular group, they have decided that there was like 4 men. They were talking about this trend, and they were giving feedback for the whole group afterwards. And it was quite interesting because it was the older man who wanted to give the feedback for the group. And he was also saying, I don't quite know what this is about really. But he was like, because he was the superior one, he wanted to give the feedback. And then very quietly, a younger man said, could I just add some to this, group work we have done? And he said in a very, very beautiful way, yes, but we are all containing these two energies, whether we are men or women. And it was so it is so, sometimes it's very brutal, the language and the way we talk about it. And sometimes it can be so subtle and so very beautiful how younger person is trying very gentle just to sort of put a perspective to the audience. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think, and it is such a misconception as well, like that feminine energy is only for women, and it's just not the case. It's definitely what you're saying, like true, that we all embody both sides, and that balance is probably what everybody needs and is, required.
Yes, you could say that, of course, men, you might say that men have a more an advantage in the masculine energy, and women might have an advantage in the feminine energy, but it's not to do with sex.
Yeah.
But a lot of discussions and talk are still around that it's to do with our genders. And so then we will just have to have a conversation there.
Yeah, I think it's a misconception, and then the way people are raised as well. So the boys are raised a certain way, or girls are raised a certain way, but it's when they embody the other side and that balance comes in that I think it just becomes so much more like a well-roundedness, to people.
Yeah.
Is that so? Your book, Energetic Leadership, is that about embracing both sides, having that balance, or is it more about using your energy for everything you do?
The book is about a lot, actually.
Okay.
I divide it into 3 areas.
Mm-hmm.
It is about foresight. So it is about the book is for leaders. It could be leader in your own life or leaders in a professional setting. Because every thing starts within you, so that's why it's. But if you're not interested in your own leadership or in professional leadership, then it's not really for you. So it is divided into 3 areas, and the first one is foresight. That a leader need to be foresightful, meaning that we are curious and that we are also able to prioritize what we are seeing in the future, when we look out the window, I call it. We need, as leaders, if you are a leader deciding for other people or corporations or in the public area also, you need to understand what's ahead of you. What are the trends? how are you going to prioritize? Because you're not going to prioritize everything. We are looking into polycrisis or permacrisis. So you are going to be able to be curious about what's going on and prioritize from there. What is relevant for your team or your organization and that. And you need to be curious about it, sort of deep down, in a positive way, that everything is not, yes, we have crises, but how are we going to deal with them? So that's one part of it in the book. Another part of it is what I call personal development. We know that word, but really what it is about energy consciousness. And that's going back to the energies, feminine and masculine energy. So how are we able to be much more conscious about what energy is, how you navigate your energy, how you nurture your energy, how you make decisions with your energy, how you are developing your whole awareness and consciousness about it, and how it makes you be more present. Because in a world with, polar crisis and it's like a hurricane. And we need to be still, we need to be in the middle. We are in the middle of the hurricane. And right in that spot, I've been told, I've never tried it, but it's quiet. And we should be able to have that kind of quietness in our awareness, in our behavior, so that we don't burn out or fall or whatever, what can happen to us, so that we are able to navigate our behavior like a reed. You can bend by, a reed on the beach. You can bend all the way to one side where you are, very masculine and you are really acting and you are doing your things, but you can also be very, very reflective, and you are able to be in life, make your decisions, but without burning out or without falling over, so to speak. So that's the second section. And the third section is, because I come from corporate life, my vision is also to improve corporate life or our business world. So it's leading back into, it doesn't have to be in the private sector, it could also be in the public sector, or is in the public sector. But it is, how are we then using all the courage that we will get from being more present to be able to act, to be able to change, to be able to make transformations in the way that we, set up our organization. So how are we building organizations fitted for humans, not resources like human resources, but real humans who want to thrive in organizations. So it's foresight, it's personal development, and it's business transformation. So these are the sort of three areas. Then the energetic leadership model is also built on 3 layers. So you have to have some kind of base, and then the next level, and then a unique level. So an example of within the unique level in your personal development is, for instance, are you using light language? Are you able to, how are you using your ability to be in contact with the universe or with soul. For some people, they're not there yet, but for others, they might have noticed that something is happening, and but how are they literally using it? And how can it's not just for special people, it can be developed for anyone who would like it to be developed. So that's just an example of with foresight. It could be, are you using scenarios in your way of looking out the window? So, and for business transformation, I would say one of the main thing for the unique level for business transformation, are you truly having a purpose in your organization? And are you living that purpose? And is that purpose fitted? A lot of companies have purposes. They use vision, mission, whatever, and they also have a purpose, and it is hanging on the walls, and they don't really do much about them. But do they truly have a purpose that's fitted to also their business model? So a purpose could be like Patagonia, that Earth is their shareholder. Planet Earth is their shareholder. So that's everything we do has to be fitted to Earth being our shareholder. But you can have a purpose in other ways, but that your purpose is not to make the more money, the merrier. But how are you making your money? Of course, a corporation will always have to be financial sound, and healthy. I'm not sitting here saying, we should just, not use our economy perspective in a sound way. Of course, we should do that. A business is a business, but there's many ways to do businesses.
Yes.
So that's how it works.
So the whole book definitely sounds so interesting, especially the part where you say, like, we tap into the intuition side. So you're connecting with, whether you want to call it God source or energy, and you're just tuning into what is needed in your life, I guess, so to speak. When you say things like light language, I do know what that is, but a lot of people wouldn't necessarily know if that's how do you cover that in your book? Do you explain that all in your book, or is that something that you sort of say to each person has their own sort of way of tapping in and guiding in?
Yes, I do talk about it. So it's part of that. The book is also divided into, you could say there's 3 layers, and there's also the 3 themes. But it's also divided into what can you actually do when it comes to personal development, and what can you do when it comes to what I call professional development. So the book is very much like an inspirational guide for you as a person. So you want to do something with your own development. What can you do there? And you also want to take it with you into your whatever role you have. And it's actually divided into the different sectors you would have in a business. So whether it's marketing, product sales, or finance, or HR, or top level. So with questions, reflective questions, and all that. So yes, it is.
It's really perfect. It's perfect because it covers everything, like you say, like your whole life. You are a leader in your life regardless of your job, but even in your job, even if you weren't a manager or leader, you can be being a leader in your role. So it kind of covers all of that. And I also think like what you touched on earlier about, like in your, what purpose do you bring in your life, like in your job sense. I know people that in their job, they're in a particular job that might be considered mundane or boring, but they know that their purpose isn't necessarily the role of the job, but the energy that they bring and what they do to the people around them. Or they work in, like retail, but they know what they're doing is the customers that come in and the way that they're interacting, that their energy is needed. I suppose being really intuitive and self-aware, and also using light language a lot actually for themselves, they kind of know that their purpose is more than what the job role is. So it's
very much. That's how I also look at it myself, because I was questioning myself years back. Why did I go into corporate life? Did I waste my time there? Should I have done something differently? But no, I have also enjoyed it. I've also got frustrated, yes. But maybe my role when I'm here on Earth is I should have this experience. And now I'm using it to sort of inspire again. And I think that's the way all humans have such a big potential. And we have lots of different talents, and we should try and use all our talents when we're here and mix them, together, instead of just, I'm just meant for this and I'll do it in 50 years and then I'll retire and then I'll die, more or less. That's not how we want to live our lives anymore. So we want to mix everything, and the book is really tapping into, the main thing being that we have to release this huge potential that we have, both as a person, but also because when we grab hold of it, coming back to the subtitle of the book, I can just read it loud later, but that we have the potential that we are not unleashing or releasing. And we need it for our own, joy, but we also need it for societal growth, healthy growth. And because when we tap into our intuition and get that feminine part of, and it all comes together, then we become much more creative. And the creativity, we need the creativity in our society because of all the issues that we have. Then we will. That's why I'm quite optimistic about the future, because we haven't even uncovered all the options we have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I've just been listening patiently in the background, but so much of what you have said absolutely resonates. I think, it's such a sign of the times right now. I think people are realizing how old systems, old ways have really run their course, and it really is a time for a real shake-up and innovation in a number of spaces, and certainly culture and education. I think coming back to energies and male energies and female energies, and how we raise our boys and how we raise our girls. I think a lot of those older traditional models are starting to become challenged, and we're starting to realize how you need to bring that, in this case, female energy into the male space when raising your children to raise more rounded human beings. And like the example you gave of the younger man who came in to make a point after the older man had a go is a classic example, because the younger hearts, younger minds are more flexible. They're more open to receiving messages. Whereas if you've been doing the same thing for 50 years, you've become almost callous. You've become set in your ways, and those pathways, those channels are well, maybe not even used for 20, 30 years. So how do you expect to get a truck down a dusty pathway that's never been used? But I think this message is exactly spot on with this age that we are in right now. And like with anything, I believe, how do you change society? How do you change humanity? Well, it starts with education.
Oh,
yeah, it really does. And I don't know, as far as I know, you also had exams this or last month in Australia. But, you know, when you see the youth going to an exam, you know, I'm questioning, what is the whole meaning of an exam? You know, maybe it is that we should be able to know ourselves better, you know, when we're young. But it's also the topics that we are going to, they're going to test us on. And I would be so really thrilled if we in the future or very soon could be testing our youth in also what it means to be a human. You know, so you're not just testing our rational knowledge, you know, math, and it's important. I'm not, you know, saying it's not, but you should also be testing or having some way of being brought up. How is it to be a human? Understanding for instance, what is energy? How do you make relations? How do you meditate? How do you know, there could be a whole curriculum of this. So our education and our exams, they are also unbalanced.
Yes.
Another example of which I also like to mention, I have two different ones. It's midwives. You know, you have midwives, and they are very often used or in the same job for many, many years. And a lot of them are saying that it would be really, really nice if the young people nowadays with the AI would try and stop using AI a little bit and try to start using their intuition or develop their intuition and try and look at the baby and see how is the baby actually doing, instead of just always asking your phone, you know, or AI or whatever. So that is a very, very crucial, for me, example of we have to be careful about where we're going as humans, and daring to take that talk with your young people, because I have a son who has just become a father, and I can see that it's you know, look at the baby, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Instead of the phone. So that's one example. But another in a totally different field is I found an article from an economist in our national bank. His name is Thomas Ha. And he said in this article, he said, we forgot to look out the window. So what he was saying in this headline was, we forgot to be foresightful in the National Bank of Denmark. So they were forgetting to look out the window and being foresightful. They were just looking in their models and their computers and their Excel sheets and whatever. So they did not foresee that we were having, or we were getting this inflation crisis in 2021. But they had some colleagues in the US, and they're named Blanchard and Summers. And they were very good at both using all their rational knowledge, models and whatever you have in national banks, but they were also good at looking out the window. So scanning with their whole mind, both the rational and the intuitive mind, and also using their own sort of internal judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And then they foresaw that, we're getting this inflation crisis. I went to see Thomas because I really wanted to find out what was going on in our national bank, and to have a talk about intuition. So how are you, so I was a little bit provocative, and I said, does that mean that when you come to work, you say to your intuition, okay, you stay in the reception, and now I will go up and do my work, rational work. So you are not using your intuition or anything when you are sitting there. And he was, yeah, they were not maybe using all their intuitive power. He also said something which was really interesting. He said, yes, Blanchard and Summers in the US, they are independent.
Mm.
And I said, does that mean that you only use your intuitive power if you are an independent? If you are employed in the national bank or in another corporation or in the public sector, you stall your intuition somewhere in the reception before you walk in. I don't agree with that, and we had a good laugh about it. But it's just to pinpoint. It's intuition, and the intuitive power is relevant in any parts of the world, anything you're doing, or everything.
More. And I think as well, like you said, there's so much value placed on IQ rather than the emotional intelligence. And in emotional intelligence is also tapping into your intuition, and knowing how to use that in your everyday life will probably serve you far more than just, and even with AI, actually, like when you say, like, if we were to outsource anything to AI, it can be the IQ side, because that knows all that stuff. But with emotional intelligence is when we tune in and use our own intelligence within us, which is your intuition and your emotions to guide you. What's like a simple because in your book, I know that there's a tagline that you've got that I really liked. Could you read that out to us?
Oh, the subtitle.
Yes,
yes, the subtitles. It says, when modern life design collides with old leadership habits, it is time to tap into intuition and unleash our energetic sense of the future.
I really loved that. I really like that. And what would you suggest could be a simple way for people, like a practice that people could do to tune in? Do you have any tips?
Yes, if I'm asked that question, I always get that question. And if I only have to, and I always have to say one thing, it is to be still, to be quiet, because in a very, very noisy world, it is really, really difficult for people just to be quiet. And I call it, there's also a section about meditation, but there's also a section about just quiet listening, just to be, because it's like the first step. So be quiet is to stop talking and to be still with yourself, not having any music on or television on, or just, and it can be quiet, of course, in a noisy environment, but it could also be quiet, that you are quiet walking in the forest or on the beach or wherever you might be, but that you are trying to shut down any sort of noise that you are putting on yourself in order to cope with life. And when we are being quiet, then we get that little second or 2 seconds that might be that breakthrough where you think, okay, this is really, really nice. I need a little bit more of that. And then you are slowly, hopefully, spiraling upwards. You know, you are making a little new habit for yourself in order to start opening up your awareness to energy and ultimately to your intuition and your potential. So to be quiet and use that as a way to have some self-care. And for a lot of people, even in a corporate environment, like if you are in a meeting, it could also be that you say, okay, now we have discussed everything and we're going to make a decision. We will just pause for a minute. And then we will take, are you pro and con or whatever, how you're making decisions, but that you are just also putting those habits into not just your own life, but also in corporate life. Because the decision-making power is crucial in everything that we're doing, and we're doing it all the time, little and big decisions. And how are you going to integrate all this in the way that you make decisions is really, really crucial in how you both build your own leadership, but also how you build it in a bigger culture. So be quiet, be still.
Really great advice. And recently, Bart and I did a philosophy class where we literally learned about the power of pause, and it's something that we're encouraged to practice. You know, they even say in between activities, in between each task that you're doing, just pause. And I think there's so much value in what you've just said and advice. My breakthrough and reminder.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. And I think this goes back to meditation and the power of mindfulness and stillness, and to be able to quieten that mind, because it's always racing, and just to be able to quite often just have a minute or just even a second or two of that clarity, and to hear what that inner voice is trying to tell you. The answer can be quite clear, but when you're running from pillar to post, drinking too much coffee, having late nights, everything becomes clouded, everything becomes disconnected, and then that's where poor decision making can come in.
Yeah, I always say that, our body is really, really slow in reacting, and the mind is faster.
Yeah.
And our soul, I use soul, it could be chi or whatever you believe in, but our soul is really, really fast. So if we are in any way stressed or unfocused, or it just disappears, you're not present, so off I go.
Yeah.
So that's why for me, listening within is really, really crucial.
And that's something we should be learning in high school as well.
Right.
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
It would be, sometimes you are thinking all the things that we are struggling with, a lot of it, and we use so much, both money and energy, and people have, conflicts, and, it's a shame, because we have this
Literally
potential.
the answers are within, and all we needed to do was slow down and it would come.
Yeah.
People often have conflicts over misunderstandings. Quite often when you do get the people in the room sit down together, we find that we're actually both trying to achieve the same outcome.
Yeah. And they are, talking,
Yeah.
Yeah.
disconnecting fully.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So what's next for you after this? Are you writing another book? Are you working on another project?
I'm not writing another book right now, but actually some people keep asking me, you know, there's another book in you. Yeah, maybe there is. I don't know. Right now it is really keynotes, and it's workshops, and it is mentorship. So it's really, you know, building that bridge back into to business and corporate life, and getting it out to work. I'm introducing a new. Previously, I called it a boot camp, and it didn't quite work for me. There was like something that, you
Too
know,
fast.
yeah.
Too much male energy.
So you are actually the first one I'm mentioning it to, because I'm launching it this autumn. But it's called the Energetic Leadership Dojo.
Oh, very interesting.
So and it's referring to that you have a safe space, and you're also very dedicated and committed to your own development.
Yeah.
But it's also mutual in that, you know, you are developing it because you are opening up, and you're also interested in listening to what others. It's like you're mirroring. Everyone is mirroring each other, and there's like in a dojo. There's also in previous or in ancient time they said a master. So yeah, I'm the one holding the space, but it's also that we are creating whatever is happening together. So it's not like there's a leader who knows everything, you know, but really this is what energetic leadership really is about. It is evolving, evoking together. So I've been doing this for the last 3 years, but really now I found the word that, you know, it fits really, really well.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on.
Do you do it online as well, or is it all?
It is online, yes, but it's also physical, but mainly online, because that helps people
Connect? Definitely.
Yes.
Accessible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yes, well, we'd like to thank you so much for joining us today. I think I can say with certainty for both myself and Michelle is that your work is incredibly important. I think this is the right time to continue to spread this message, and I do truly intend this book and your message find their way into corporate spaces where it's most needed, and that the people who truly need to hear the message do hear the message.
Yeah.
And thank you for your work and for inviting me on your podcast.
Thank you so much. We really enjoyed the conversation, and like Bart said, learned so much for ourselves, and probably attend one of these energetic leadership dojos.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Please do send us the link to your book and to the dojo and to your website, and we'll be sure to include it. And that will just help to continue to spread your message.
Yes, you can find everything on energeticleadership.eu.
Perfect.
1, 2,